Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. I'm Adam Hildebrandt, joined by Tiger Football head coach Josh Blankenship. Coming off the win over Westmoore last week, 31-3. Let's kind of break down that game a little bit. First, where did Westmoore, from y'all's perspective, stack up in terms of some of the opponents you've played this year? What talent did you guys kind of have to overcome from them, and what did you see from them as a team?
Yeah, one of the more bigger, active, physical boxes front guys that we've seen. We knew we had our work cut out for us on offense. Their front seven, we knew was really going to be a challenge, and even moving forward, we've kind of figured out what people are going to do to us. They're going to completely load the box and dare us to throw the ball. So trying to establish run game against a front like that, and then be able to connect on a few shots throughout the game was critical. On the flip side, big offensive line, dangerous running back, a couple of dangerous receivers. Their tight end, I think, is one of the best that we've seen and will see. And so for us to be able to go out there on last Friday and play the way that we did, exceed their effort and their intensity, their physicality, was the challenge we had throughout the week. And it was sure fun to watch our guys respond and answer that challenge.
When teams, one, are big and physical, and two, load the box that way, does that add extra importance on the quarterback run game and what Cooper Bates brings to the table? Because it gives you that extra man in the box to kind of match up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can beat your head against the wall and try and do your traditional run game, or you can get a little creative and match their numbers, which that's going to require you to either go wildcat, option somebody. When I say option, I mean don't block somebody, read them, and then or wildcat. Other than that, you're kind of just dependent on running over a guy. Kind of a philosophy of the offensive line is that we'll get the running back to a safety. But when the safeties are lined up like linebackers, you're going to need to do a little bit more than that. So you've either got to establish a physical presence where it doesn't matter what they do, which you've got to have some pretty big and talented physical guys to do that across the board, or you got to get creative scheme-wise and then take your shots.
You mentioned taking some shots in there. If a defense isn't necessarily changing up a whole lot of what they do in terms of what they're doing on the outside, how do you guys kind of play out, okay, when the right time is to take that shot? Is it like a momentum of the game thing where you feel like you need to stretch the defense or make a big play? Or how does that kind of work out from y'all's perspective?
Multiple scenarios. Sometimes it can be a momentum feel thing. It can be, following up a big play or a big turnover. Most time it's scripted. We know when we want to do it, and usually that's predicated on an area of the field, down a distance, what we're expecting the defense to do in that situation. So a lot of analytics going into it, and then, but certainly times when it's just the right momentum and feel.
Caleb Barnett, we've talked a lot about his speed and getting him in open space. He's made a couple of catches down the field in the last few weeks, and specifically I think back to that one at Norman North. I think it was a fourth down play where he was kind of coming across the middle of the field in a small window. Where is he at in terms of his ball skills and his ability to go get a football, especially in traffic, because he seems to make catches in traffic quite a bit?
It's funny because everybody knows he's a little guy, shorter guy, but his range, you talk about the target range or, for a quarterback, kind of that radius, that catch radius, his is ginormous because of his jumping ability. His reach is a lot longer than you'd expect for a guy of his size to have. So, a lot of times those little guys are hard to target, and he doesn't fall into that category. He's got the target and catch radius of a guy like Cade Matthews, and it's phenomenon that it's hard to explain, but it just is the way he is. You said it, ball skills are out of this world, and so he gives us a chance to get him the ball in a lot of different situations.
With that box being kind of loaded up this last week, those guys up front, those five offensive linemen, does that give them how do you work against that? Like, is that a game where you're going to see even more improvement because that is such a challenge? They have to be on their guys, making good blocks, not holding, that sort of a thing?
Well, that's the way it played out this game. It was kind of we had 3 touchdowns taken off the board by penalties.
Yeah.
So the score's a little, I think for the offensive success that we had, the score's a little misleading. The offensive line really grew in this game as a unit. And it looked grimy. It might have been a 4-yard, 5-yard gain at the most on some situations, but over and over and over, leaning on those guys on the other side of the ball, Was really pleased with how our offensive line not only gelled, answered a call on an adaptation we made. We had a couple of bad snaps, and so we switched our guard and our center. And so those two guys playing in a different position than they had all year and picked it up right away, and we actually got better as the game even progressed.
I did not notice that in the middle of the game, in the midst of the action. So that's a good, how challenging is that if you're a guard moving to center? Had he snapped it all over the course of the year, or was that something that he just done in the past and so you moved him right back over?
Well, we've both. We've always got about 5 or 6 guys that could potentially be snapping the football, working that in pre-practice every day. So it's there's not any guy that should be caught off guard with having to snap the football. We've had Fernandez there at center. He's our sophomore, our only puppy up there on the O-line right now. And he's a warrior, and he's done a phenomenal job all year. And he kind of a couple snaps got away from him. So we switched Marty from right guard to center and put Fernandez over to right guard. That's not a crazy transition there for any interior offensive lineman, but Marty's played center most of his life anyway, so he's very comfortable snapping the football and still being physical in his assignment.
Does it make a certain amount of sense to flip guys on the line as opposed to bring in a reserve player who maybe hasn't been communicating with those other guys up front quite as much? Because then you still got the same 5 guys communicating the same things. Yeah,
that chemistry in that group is, I think it's underrated. And so I think Coach Pruitt made the right decision and not necessarily just wholesale subbing a guy out, but keeping that chemistry with that group of 5. We've been blessed for those guys to stay healthy for most of the year, and we're starting to see the production of that growth as a group.
Here's hoping that health remains, too. That's Josh Blankenship, Tiger football head coach. I'm Adam Hildebrandt. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Right now, get $200 from TTCU Federal Credit Union when you open a new checking account with direct deposit. What would you buy with $200?
Cars, race cars, my own apartment, 100 coloring books, and a puppy.
Or maybe some groceries and a tank of gas. $200 for whatever works for you from TTCU, because life is better in balance.
Welcome back. It's Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. I'm Adam Hildebrandt, joined by Tiger football head coach Josh Blankenship. Coach, we talked a little bit on the show last week about the absence the week before of Dietrich Moore and I'm drawing a blank on the safety's name. Yeah, Elisha Wilson. It seemed like that energy was immediately back from the jump last week. What did you see from that perspective?
Exactly that. I think obviously we've talked about it, but the presence and the physicality and the aggression that Dietrich and Elisha bring, you can't replace that when they're gone. It was still a disappointment that we didn't rise up and match that energy at a minimum. You can't match the production, but at least the energy. Obviously, having them back is a bonus, but to watch the entire group fly around with the aggression that they did for 4 quarters was, man, it was exactly what I was hoping we would get out of those guys. And that was the thing I was happiest about. Schemes are overrated. It's how we get these guys to play, and they played like controlled maniacs, and it was awesome.
Dietrich came within a whisker of a pick 6. Was he grumpy with himself after that play?
Oh, he just wants another shot at it. So, but yeah, he was irritated, and that was one he wanted.
And it wouldn't have been his first one. He's had those before, and I'm sure there's probably more on their way at some point. So talking about that energy, getting 11 hats to the ball. Yeah. What did you feel like Westmoore tried to, because you mentioned they've got a good tight end, a couple good receivers. They can distribute the ball to some different areas. How did they test you in terms of making you run around the field and try to get to different spots?
I know they had a plan, and that's how football goes. When one group is so suffocating, it just kind of takes your plan, and it just doesn't matter. And that's the way our defense played for the majority of the game. They got one little gadget play on us. Everybody calls it fight song. Where you've got a kind of a hidden eligible tackle that's actually a tight end, and he's uncovered. And they caught us on that one after we tried to dribble onside and got down into red zone, and we still bowed up and held them to just a field goal. It was 4 quarters of phenomenal defense, and I can't speak highly enough of what Coach Mon and his staff flipped the switch and got those guys ready to play.
From the special teams perspective, you mentioned kind of an onside kick there, and I'm drawing a blank on some of the specific plays, but I know there were some special team swings in that game. So what did you see from that unit, and which play stood out to you?
We had a punt blocked early, which that's got to be corrected. The main issue was we were probably just too slow getting the kickoff, but we've got to do a better job of securing protection on the punt. Outside of that, I thought our special teams were really, really solid. We had 2 really good kick returns. We caught the punts that came to us instead of letting them bounce and roll 30 yards. I think they had one that did, but we were able to push it out and get a first down. Our kickoff coverage, I did not like the week before and was really excited to see us fly down and over and over again. Every time we scored, put points on the board, we're kicking off, and to have that continued coverage was great. So very pleased with special teams outside of really one play.
After that punt that got blocked, was that the field goal, or did the defense get a stop after that?
Oh, man, I don't remember. We would have had to have gotten a stop.
Yeah, I think they got a stop after that.
Because they scored on the after the onside kick and had that little gadget play to get down there. And then, so even after the block punt, our defense stood up and stopped them.
How challenging is, those short change possessions for the defense?
It's about how you perceive it. We try to train the guys up to be excited about sudden change. We practice sudden change. And you can go out there with one of 2 mindsets. It's either like, crap, we got to go back out there again, we just got off, or here's another opportunity to get a quick 3-and-out or a turnover. And that's the mentality that you hopefully want your guys to have. Not hopefully, you hope that your guys do have. And they showed that. So it's that's a sign of some awesome direction.
From the offensive perspective, let's say you go 3-and-out, and then the other team happens to give the ball right back to you. So you've got a short change on offense after having not had success. Do you try to switch something up? Do you go back to what you were trying to do before? How does the offense kind of process that if they hadn't been having success prior to that short change?
Well, Adam, I don't really want to give all my
without sharing any
strategy.
Secrets. Yeah.
No, it just depends. It depends on the game plan. It depends on what's going wrong or what's going right. If it's early in the game and maybe you had some scripted things that you wanted to see, maybe you've got an idea of what is going to work now that you had a series. So a 3-and-out usually isn't time to hit the panic button at all. It's stick with your game plan. It's going to have to take a lot of catastrophic stuff going on for you to abandon the game plan and come up with something completely unique, which I can't really think of a time that's been the case.
That's Broken Arrow Tiger head football coach Josh Blankenship. We'll be back with more and a special guest in just a moment. This is Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
Recently, you've had to put your life on hold, and we're with you in this. At Ascension St. John, we're now open for appointments, and we are fully prepared for your safety in our care. As we open our doors again, our doctors, nurses, and care teams will continue to wear personal protective equipment. We've taken even more steps to clean and stringently disinfect all areas. We will maintain distancing in our waiting rooms and will continue to limit visitors. And we will still screen all staff to protect their health and yours. Our emergency rooms are here 24/7. Please do not delay care. We're still delivering babies and performing surgeries. And we're open for your appointments, from specialists and surgical care to routine care and health screenings. Ask us about virtual visits. Ascension St. John continues to care for you, as we have been for almost a century. Thank you for trusting us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Adam Hildebrandt, Josh Blankenship back with you, joined by Vince Davis, who's a running backs coach here for the Tiger football program. Before we started, Coach said lasagna. Your eyes lit up. Are you a big Italian food guy?
Yeah, shout out to Mondo's. Are they sponsoring this? Let's get a sponsorship from Mondo's.
Should we? No, all right. No, they're not. But yeah. So, running backs. Did you play running back when you were playing? How did you get into coaching running backs?
Yes, I did. I played in high school and I played a little bit NAIA ball at Bacone College.
No kidding. Bacone up in the heart of, were they in the Heart of America Athletic Conference then? No, Bacone. I was thinking Baker.
Yeah.
Baker,
Muskogee,
Bacone.
Oklahoma.
Close. Yeah. Good old the Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Yes,
so how did you get connected with Coach Blankenship? How did you end up back here at Broken Arrow?
Well, I did a year. I coached a year at East Central High School. Coached the running backs and linebackers there. with one of my coaches who's coaching in Norman North now. I went to Owasso, worked as a freshman running backs offensive coordinator for the freshman team and worked with the varsity. And then during COVID, I got approached to come here 2020 school year, and I was here for a year. And then when I was Coach Blankenship inherited me from the previous regime.
All right, and so good things coming out of COVID. You can find some silver lining. You ended up here at Broken Arrow, so that's a positive. Let's talk about this stable of running backs you have right now, because you got a lot of guys who are worthy of getting touches and talented. How have you handled that this season? Because you've got Nate Jones, who's been established, and Gabriel Harris, who's we saw flashes of last year, and then obviously you've got Caden Jones, who is a true freshman. So how have you balanced those guys out and kind of allowed them all to get touches?
Well, we kind of just based on not a hot hand approach, but we're just trying to get everybody a chance to shine and everybody a chance to like showcase their talents. So some are better at other things than others, and we just try to put them in the best position to help the team win.
You've coached freshman running backs. You were the offensive coordinator for the freshman team in Owasso at one point. So when do you start to identify? Because obviously you guys knew of Caden Jones before he showed up to get his pads in the fall camp. So how do you start to identify a guy who's a 7th, 8th grade that you think, oh, this guy might be able to step in as a freshman and help out the varsity team?
Well, the awesome thing is we have a great 8th and 9th grade staff, and those guys over the offseason have been in off-season football with us as 7th and 8th graders and summer programs as well. So we can kind of see some talent, and we try our best. It's hard, being a varsity coach, but we try our best to try to get some 8th and 9th grade games as well and just see how they're doing. And some of those guys really stuck out, and we got a lot of freshmen up with us right now, actually. So with KD, we ended up making the decision pretty early to bring him up from the jump. And the last day of school, 8th grade, after he got done with his final, I went and picked him up from Centennial. And he comes in, it's a full pad practice, and he learned real quick there's a bit of a difference between varsity and 8th grade football, but he's grown and he's earned it. He's earned his way to, playing well.
What do you like to do away from football? I'm sure you probably don't have a whole lot of time to do those things right now, but what do you like to do when you don't have a headset on?
Well, I have a 17-month-old daughter.
Okay, nice.
So I try to spend as much time as I can with her, just little things. She loves going outside, so we got a freaking playground, little mini playground set up in the back, basketball goal, and she'll just go in the back and wander, and it's just cool seeing her grow. Mm-hmm. And yesterday she came at me and just like, I was on my all fours and just came and like headbutted me like a tackle. I was like, all right, well, this could be fun.
It's just flag. Targeting on the daughter.
Hey, it's not on the same level as his daughter, but he does have quite the shoe collection that I think he takes a lot.
Okay.
Oh boy, yeah, I do have quite a shoe.
How many?
No comment.
All right. Coming up on the next Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib, investigative reporting on Coach's shoe collection. All right. Well, thanks for popping in and joining us for a while. We'll be looking forward to seeing you and the running backs in action on Friday.
Wow, we can't wait. Go Tigers.
Back with more in just a moment. This is Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back one final time to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib, joined by Tiger Football head coach Josh Blankenship. Coach, obviously everybody knows the story on Bixby. 55 consecutive wins. They've been playing well this year. What do you see out of them? What makes them good and capable of doing what they've been doing to this point?
Well, they've got that undefeated mentality. I mean, you got 55, whatever it is, games in a row. They know nothing other than winning. That says a lot right there. Then you turn on the film. They certainly have talent, but they have a culture that is clearly ingrained in them, that they play like maniacs at every position. And I mean that as a compliment, like frantic energy and effort, like it's almost like it's a game-winning play on every play. All phases of the ball, which is a credit to their coaching staff, what Coach Montgomery's done over there in establishing that culture. It's something to envy because it is clearly something that every kid that steps on that field is bought into.
And they can score in multiple ways. I mean, they've scored without the ball at times this year. So from Broken Arrow's perspective this week, what are some keys? What are some things that you guys are focusing on to try to go into Bixby and get a win?
Well, first of all, it's kind of like we were talking about with the sudden change. It's about perception or perspective. Do you see this as oh, great, this is a tough thing, or do you see it as, oh, look at this opportunity that we have? That's the way I see it. I believe our kids see it the same way. We're back in the Tulsa metro area, so we're playing against guys that most of our kids are familiar with. We see them all summer. We see them in camps. We see them in 7-on-7. These guys know each other. We're excited about the opportunity. We are, like any other game, are expecting to go win the game. But we know what we're up against too. So it's a perspective of opportunity more than some kind of obstacle. For us, it's another district game that we need to go get.
And Broken Arrow at Bixby Friday night. We'll have the game for you on Arrow Vision. Spav, Madison, and I on the call. So we'll be looking forward to it. Coach, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib.